So when it comes to the Knicks, we got to have our guy CP the Fanchise on. He is the founder of Knicks Fan TV. You can hear him on SiriusXM NBA Radio, and he's nice enough to join us here on ESPN New York. CP, appreciate your time, my friend. How are you?
Jake, doing great, man. Glad to hear you on the K Show as usual, man. Keep doing your thing, but orange and blue skies here in New York.
Knicks need a coach, CP. You've been reporting on this a lot. You've been beating the insiders with some of the info you've been putting out there. So I ask you this simple question. What is the latest with the Knicks coaching search?
Yeah, so as we're hearing it today, Jake, barring any blockbuster turn of events, it seems like Mike Brown is currently in the driver's seat to become the next head coach of the New York Knicks. As was reported today by multiple sources, he's in for his second interview. We had reported that from Saturday that he was going to be headed in for a second interview, and this interview will be with the Knicks owner, James Dolan. So what I'm hearing is that, he's currently in the driver's seat. He's coming highly recommended by sources around the league as a guy who can maximize the talent, especially the top-end talent, Brunson, Towns, Mikal Bridges. This is where the Knicks' key investments are, and this is where their championship hopes lie. And so the hope is that Mike Brown can come in here and get the best out of that big three to take this team to a championship.
From what you've heard about Brown, what is it that the Knicks look at and they feel like he's the guy that could do exactly what you're just talking about with those three players?
Yeah, well, as you look at it, he has the most experience over anybody that they're looking at right now. And I think especially in this situation where this next Knicks head coach is going to be into the fire right away because they just fell two games short of the NBA Finals. And so picking up the mantle from Tom Thibodeau is not an easy task. And so I believe that the experience factor is one thing that's putting Mike Brown there in the driver's seat. The Knicks also want someone who is going to come in here and lead the way in terms of player development. And when you look at Mike Brown, and yes, things did fall apart there in Sacramento, but you look at some of the guys that had career seasons under him, and De'Aaron Fox and Sabonis, Malik Monk becoming the NBA's Sixth Man of the Year with Mike Brown in his first year with the Sacramento Kings. That Kings offense being number one in the NBA in that first year under Mike Brown. And so, there are some key spots. He was also a key member of the Golden State Warriors championship run under Steve Kerr as an assistant coach. So he has significant experience. Yes, he has his warts that, will draw questions in terms of his hiring. But I'm also being told that the Knicks are going to look to fortify him with a strong staff, a staff that he can collaborate with, a staff that will also be specializing in player development. One of the members that Ian Begley had reported was potentially James Borrego being brought onto this staff. And Borrego's a guy who, with the Charlotte Hornets, boasted a fairly impressive offense given the talent that they had, and someone who is known for his offensive schemes as well. So he could potentially be someone of interest to add to Mike Brown's staff should Mike Brown be the head coach of the Knicks.
CP the Fanchise with us here with the latest on the Knicks coaching search. Plus, let's get into now some of the moves the Knicks have made in free agency. What was your reaction to Jordan Clarkson reportedly signing on with the Knicks for the vets minimum?
Yeah, good for the value, Jake. I think what a lot of people have to understand, for a lot of people who may not be in the weeds in terms of understanding the Knicks salary cap situation and where they stand, the Knicks don't have a lot of finances, a lot of money to dole out there for contracts. And so as you're seeing free agents get these big deals with different teams and you're wondering, well, why aren't the Knicks in on a guy like this? It's because they just don't have the wiggle room. So for a guy like a Jordan Clarkson, he was bought out of the final year of his deal by the Utah Jazz, and he becomes available. The Knicks were able to get him on a veteran's minimum contract. That is where they're going to do most of their bidding for free agents. And so for a guy like that, a 16 points per game scorer, when the Knicks need much needed offense for that Knicks bench, especially as an individual shot creator. They really didn't have that on the bench last year. And so Jordan Clarkson is going to bring that. Yes, he's a erratic player. His defense is not that great, but some nights he will be lighting up the garden. And so for the value of the contract on the vet minimum, it's a good pickup for the Knicks.
From what you understand about this, as we talk with CP the Fanchise here on the Michael K. Show, All Things Knicks, Jake Asman in for Michael today. From what you understand, the Knicks what is their pitch to a guy like Clarkson? What is their pitch to really any free agent when they don't have the coach yet? Do you think they've articulated to these players, hey, here's who we think it's going to be, or hey, like behind the scenes, like these players already know who the coach is going to be? Just what are your thoughts on that dynamic? Because I can't remember an NBA team going into free agency without their head coach in place already.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It is kind of unprecedented, but I have to think that that has been their pitch to these free agents, and they just signed Gershon Yabusele today as well. So they've got 2 free agents in tow. I'd have to think that they are letting them know their plans as it relates to the head coach, so that that player can understand what they are getting themselves into. And conversely, on the other side, I'd have to think that any potential coach that the Knicks are bringing in here, the Knicks are giving them a list of guys, potential bench guys that they're going to be looking at to add to the rotation to get that coach comfortable in terms of the guys that they are bringing in. And so, one of the things we spoke to a great guy for people to follow, Keith Smith. He's an NBA capologist, and we had a great free agency preview show with Keith. And he mentioned that, based on people he speaks to, when free agents are coming in for that vet minimum range, the 3 things that they are evaluating is, in terms of the teams that they're going to choose, is that team a contender? Is there a role? Is there minutes to be had here? And what city is it? And so for the Knicks, they can offer all 3. It is New York. This is a team that's going to be competing for an NBA championship. And for the Knicks head coach, they're going to be looking for a guy that's opposite of Tom Thibodeau in terms of allowing guys to develop a role off the bench, utilizing these guys off the bench for a good amount of minutes, and for guys coming in on that vet minimum who are going to be looking for longer-term deals, it's an ideal situation.
As far as the other signing that you just referenced there, the Knicks adding a center today, Gershon Yabusele, on a 2-year deal. What's his role on the team, CP? I spoke with someone that covers the Sixers who said the Knicks fans are going to love this guy, that he's a perfect fit next to Robinson or next to Karl-Anthony Towns. Can you expand on that? What type of player did the Knicks get there?
Yeah, Gershon Yabusele, 6'8", 260 pounds, comes in from the Philadelphia 76ers. Last year, he averaged 11 points per game, 5.6 rebounds per game, shot 50% from the field, Jake, and 38% from 3. And quite a few of those threes were above the break 3-point shots, where the non-corners, rather, where the Knicks were kind of weak last year. So for Yabusele, he's going to be able to play the power forward or the center position. He brings some physicality. He brings a dog mentality to the Knicks, and a guy that can shoot. You cannot leave him open. And I think he's going to take Precious Achiuwa's spot. Look, Precious gave the Knicks a couple solid years as a good competitor, but they needed to get much more efficient offensively, and that's what Yabusele is going to bring. He's going to need to work on his defense along with Clarkson, so the next Knicks head coach is going to have his work cut out for him. But Yabusele came over from France. He was actually a draft pick from the Boston Celtics, and he played 2 years with the Celtics from 2017 to 2019, left, went back to France for about 4 or 5 years, and then came back and had a good season with the Philadelphia 76ers.
When you look at this Knicks team, what's the starting 5, and who are the first couple guys off the bench? Because it's interesting. You can make a case about keeping the same 2 starting centers out there with Robinson and Cat. You can make a case, hey, maybe you bring Mitchell Robinson off the bench, and you could start Deuce McBride now in the lineup. I'm already thinking about the different combinations the Knicks have with the starters, and they don't even have a head coach, CP. So break that down for us.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see where the next Knicks head coach is going to want to go in terms of the starting 5. Does he keep it as is, status quo, with Josh Hart in that rotation at the starting 2? You can potentially go with Miles McBride there at the starting 2 alongside Jalen Brunson, where you will be much more efficient offensively. It guarantees you that 5-out spacing with Karl-Anthony Towns at the 5. But you're going to have weaknesses in terms of your size there and also rebounding potential. Does he go with the double big lineup that Tom Thibodeau showed later on in the season and in the playoffs with Mitchell Robinson and Karl-Anthony Towns? I think that's also an option for the new Knicks head coach. Personally, I like that option, the double big option. I don't believe that the Knicks will be a successful team long-term with Karl-Anthony Towns at the 5, especially defensively. Some of his best seasons with the Minnesota Timberwolves came with playing alongside Rudy Gobert, and I'd like to see that again with Mitchell Robinson there. I think from a rebounding standpoint, defensively as well, the Knicks can be a very strong team. But again, that's going to be left up to the next Knicks head coach and how he wants to best deploy this roster.
If you look at the betting odds, CP, the Knicks, as of right now, are the favorites to come out of the Eastern Conference. So despite not having a coach, obviously the roster is incredibly talented. Is that more so just about the Knicks' talent, or is it more so about, hey, look what's happened in the East with some of the injuries and even some of the moves we've seen, like a guy like Miles Turner leaving Indiana to go to Milwaukee? Your thoughts just on the Knicks being the favorites to actually win the East right now?
Yeah, it's both. I think when you look at it, and history being a recent bar, just with the Knicks being 2 games short of the Eastern Conference Finals, you have to put that respect there. I mean, they came into the season last season as one of the favorites as well, and so they're going to shoot up there, given the fact that the Celtics seem to be dismantling some pieces. So the Celtics are going to be coming back maybe to the middle of the pack or so. The Indiana Pacers without Tyrese Halliburton, who will be rehabbing from the Achilles injury, and Miles Turner making a monumental shift from the Pacers to their conference rival, the Milwaukee Bucks. That certainly changes things. Teams have gotten better in terms of the Cleveland Cavaliers. The Atlanta Hawks are making their move, but make no mistake, the New York Knicks should be an NBA Finals contender, and a lot of things have to go right. You still have to go through an 82-game season and a grind of the playoffs, but coming into the season, they're right where they need to be. Now it's just a matter of earning it and who the head coach is going to be that's going to take them there.
The final couple questions for you, CP. Did you buy any of the LeBron Knicks rumblings? What were your thoughts on that? And then we'll get to Giannis as well.
I was nauseous. That was my reaction to it. I mean, Jake, I had nightmares from 18 years ago, the night before the decision, when I couldn't sleep. And all I could do was just keep refreshing Twitter to see what LeBron was going to do. And the news broke that he was going to Miami, our dreaded rivals, a dreaded New York rival. So I didn't want to relive that again. Look, LeBron James, he's had a sensational career, but he's 40 years old, Jake, at $50 million. I think that is a pipe dream that we just need to leave alone, that Knicks fans need to leave alone. He's not worth it, not just for the Knicks, but many teams around the league. You know, maybe Cleveland bites at it and Dan Gilbert looks for a three-peat in terms of a reunion. But look, LeBron James has done his days. He can probably give a team 1 or 2 more years of greatness, but this is not the situation that the Knicks want to jump in. Not at the expense of multiple pieces of their roster.
And then finally, what do you make of the mixed reporting on Giannis? On one hand, they get Miles Turner, and I saw Brian Windhorst on ESPN say he's a big fan of that move. And then I was reading Chris Haynes' tweets where he basically said that Giannis has told Milwaukee he's not happy with what they did, releasing Lillard to make room for Turner. So what do you make of just what's going on in Milwaukee and whether or not Giannis is actually going to request a trade or not?
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to decipher at this moment. I would have to think, without any knowledge of Giannis's decision, I would have to think the decisions that their front office has made this summer, the stretch provision for Damian Lillard, stretching that contract $113 million over 5 years. That is a sizable investment to free up the money to get Miles Turner in there. They re-signed Taurean Prince. They have Kyle Kuzma, Kevin Porter Jr. coming back. I have to think that they are consulting with Giannis here on these moves. Now, will it work? Time will tell. But, for right now, I think Giannis would be staying. But where the Knicks are concerned, from what I've always heard, is that if and when Giannis makes that decision in terms of his future, the Knicks will certainly try to get involved. But they understand that they would be up against it in terms of what they could actually offer, because you'd have to think there's probably 28 other teams in the NBA that can offer a better package to the Milwaukee Bucks in terms of ready now players, young upstart players, as well as draft picks. But look, the Knicks will certainly look to get involved. It would have to take high leverage from Giannis to get that deal done to get to New York. So stay tuned. You just never know.
CP, keep breaking news, man. You're doing a great job. Love following your coverage, man. Love seeing what you've done with your career. Appreciate you hopping on, giving us some time today.
Yes, sir, Jay. Keep up the great work, man. I'm always tuned in.